Good afternoon. This is Catherine Martin from Clay with Me Library Arts. I'm here with you to construct this video regarding Mother's Day planters, and I'm just going to show you first what it could look like. And it's a flower pot, and then basically you are going to decorate the outside using broken ceramic pieces and tiles that are from old dishes, and then you're going to use a variety of different effects like beads and other items that you can use that I gave you, or if you have some of your own fun things at home, like seashells or anything else that you would like to put into this craft, you could gather them up. And remember, the great thing about this is you could stop the video at any time and start it up again and continue if you either get tired or if you want to go look for something. So notice the bottom part of the flower pot is where it's cemented or grouted, and that's where the tiles are going to go. And then along the top, the rim, is where some more decorations are going to go. Now, I wrote the word mom out with some beads, and I have that to show you as well in a few minutes. I'm going to take you step by step through everything and explain what you're going to need to get this beautiful project done. Also, you're going to have to let it dry a little when you're done, and I'll talk about that later. All right, so the first thing you're going to start with is a regular flower pot that I gave you. This one has a tiny chip in it, but yours does not. So you just take a look at it, notice where the rim is, and then from the rim down is what you're going to be working on today. The easiest way to do this is work on the side or work even maybe upside down. You do not want to put anything on the bottom because that's what's going to keep it steady so that it doesn't tip over. Because you could really use this in your garden if you want, or if your mom likes plants, you could put a real plant in it. These are real terracotta, meaning they're made out of a special type of clay that's been baked in a kiln, and they're all good to go. These can absorb water, so they could be left out in rainy weather, but not in the winter. Okay, they cannot freeze because the water expansion and freezing will crack the pot, just like you notice this one has a little crack in it. So this one's just a demonstration purpose for you to take a look at and to get the idea of what we're going to be working on today. So now I'm going to take you through all the tools that you're going to need to bring in from your house. So you need a tweezer. Any style will do, any shape or size is fine. And you're going to need a paintbrush or two. Those are not given to you in the packet. The other thing you might want to work on is a mat. I have this blue mat you see here, or a piece of some cardboard or some newspapers or magazines, stuff that you could then, when you're done, crinkle it up and it could just go right out into the garbage is fine. Because it's going to get a little bit messy. You can wear a nice little vest or an old shirt so you don't get anything on you. And then always wash your hands if you feel like you got some stuff on you or on the table. You can wipe it all off later. Okay, so those are the things you're going to need to bring to the project. So that's those. And then I'm going to show you some other things that I gave you in the kit. So first you're going to see a little plastic cup of glue. This is just plain old Elmer's glue. And that's going to be used later, and I have it ready for you. Then I gave you a plastic disposable type of cup with a stick. And then you're going to have this powdery substance. This is the actual grout or cement is what and it's in a bag, and it's loose and powdery. So number one, it might be a good idea if you do this more in a ventilated area, meaning maybe even outside on your picnic table. It could get dusty, so you don't want to bring up a lot of dust from it, but it's fine. It's completely 100% safe. It's non-toxic and all that. So what we're going to start with is also that you need a little cup of water, and have that handy next to you. Have your cement ready, and then have your cup and your stick ready. So an empty cup, again, is going to look like this. They're recycled. Everything I use is recycled, so because I try to save the environment as much as possible. Have that ready, and then you could have your stick ready right here. Or if you have an old spoon or a gardening tool or something, an old screwdriver, you might want to have that ready. Now the way the powder works is it's mostly thinned as far as it's in a powdery form, but you're going to notice here there are some tiny little clumps. So when you transfer it into your cup, you want to make sure you squished all the little clumps. So you're going to take about 4 scoops full and fill the cup about a little bit over half full of the cement. And then I'm going to take water from my measuring cup and I'm going to dump it into my cement. Now the cement is just like when you're doing baking, like if you make brownies or if you make cupcakes or pancakes, right? You don't want it, it can't be watery. It's not really supposed to be drippy. It's going to be more solid. So if you notice there's a layer of water in here, very simple solution. You just add a little droplets of powder. And then you'll get it to a consistency. I'm trying to show you on the camera here. That you don't really see any water. And look, it doesn't really drip off the stick. That's what we want. We want it to be on the thicker side. Not too thick. It can't be dry. It has to be wet, but it's really not, you don't want it to be drippy. And again, easy solution. You just add a little bit more powder. Or if it's too thick, you just add a little bit more water. And then keep stirring until you get a nice consistency that doesn't have any lumps in here. As much as possible anyway. Because the lumps are going to be harder to work with. So just keep stirring it until you get a nice fine texture. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. Next I want to show you, and you could do all this preparation beforehand before you get started. You have a couple of separate little bags. This is the first bag. It has a whole bunch of little charms in it. Now, you can add or subtract to these charms if you don't like something in here. You could lay them out on a piece of paper next to you, like a white sheet of paper, and see what's in here. I gave sequins, glass chips, beads, plastic chips, and then there's a whole bunch of like a rhinestone little chips. Those are going to be what you're going to use to write the name later, Mom. All right, so we're going to put that aside for right now, and then we're going to take a look at this big bag of chips, and it's in a zippy bag. You could, beforehand, you want to dump it out. Okay, and then I want you to notice a couple of different things. First of all, these are real pieces of ceramic and or glass possibly. They do have sharp edges, so just go easy on these so that you don't get cut. And turn each one upside down so you could see the color or the pattern on each side. The next thing is you want to put them in order by your colors. Like if something matches or if something's plain, put them in order by your colors. And then you'll see what you have, which ones you love. And you'll be able to see some with green. They could be the stems, because we're going to make little flowers. Or if you don't like the flower idea, you can do your own idea. But today I'm going to be taking you through the flower idea. And right now I'm just looking at the various sizes, the various colors, shapes, and so on. Okay, so I will notice that some of the textures are a little bit thicker. Some are made out of different types of materials. Like there's different types of clays like bone china. Bone china is more expensive. So some of these dishes came from that. Some came from pottery. So notice that they're thicker on the sides, but that's fine. And then some are from a variety of other kinds of ideas or different types of clays. So you got a real mixture. Now again, if you have anything at your house, like if a dish broke or a favorite cup broke, or you have seashells, or if you have other trinkets like buttons, whatever you want, right, you could put in here, and it's up to your imagination what you could do. Because this is going to be cement, and everything that you put in there is going to stick as it dries. So many of these pieces are white, plain old white, and that's good because that could be your background. A lot of these I have in this packet are yellowish. Okay, and then some have little designs on them, some have words, and then they're all various sizes. Some are really tiny, mini ones, some are a little bit larger, mediums, larges, and then maybe some extra larges. So again, you could sort them that way to see the colors, shapes, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So this is going to create a pattern for you of what you want to put together. All right, so I laid out my colors. Notice how I did it. Just got an idea of different things. And I'm just going to show you some other flower pots. So here's another flower pot. This one is painted. And notice the rim on this one, a little bit wider. And then again, back to the one we did that you're going to be doing. Look at the flower pattern. So what I did was I made little, I put one of these round glass pieces that I gave everybody, about 6 of them, and then I put the colors around them, and then around that is just plain old white, and then I made like a little stem coming down. Now you could use your imagination and do any kind of design. Like here's a reddish kind of a flower, here's a stem coming down, here's a bluish with a white center and a green stem. So whatever pattern you have, or if you have some broken dishes at your house or a broken cup, or the little chips, right, you could put in a pattern around the center, and that could make it look like a flower. And of course you have enough right in your bag to make a complete pattern all the way around. Notice in the background there's a lot of whites or beigey colors, and they're different heights and sizes. Notice how they stuck in. So what we're going to do next, I'll show you how to do it, is you're going to put the cement on the actual terracotta, and then we're going to do each section, and then we're going to push the ceramic pieces into the grout, and it's going to eventually start sticking. Okay, so just to get an idea. Okay, so let's get started, and I'll show you how. So the first thing is you're going to take your flower pot and pick a starting place. And you could think about maybe you'll divide the flower pot either into three sides, even though it's round, and just work on each of those 3 sections one at a time, so you don't get, so it's not too much. And the cement stays in good shape, like liquidy, for quite some time. So as long as you do it kind of in one sitting, you should be fine. All right, so I have my cement, and I have my stick, and now I have my pot, my clay pot, and then I'm just going to go simply, and probably it'd be better if you don't work on top of your chips, just in case something drips. So I'm just pushing them off to the side a little bit, just so we don't want to get them all drippy. And again, if you have seashells or glass chips or piece of a mirror or something like that that you have at your house, they look fantastic. And you could add anything in, like I said earlier, buttons. Okay, so here we go. So I'm taking my stick, It's basically a popsicle stick. And I'm just going to put the cement underneath the rim. So it takes a couple turns. Notice how it's not really running. And that's what I want. I want it to be in a solid form. But of course it still has to be liquidy. But we don't really want it to run. So if you put it on and all of a sudden it's running everywhere, it's a little bit too watery. Again, the easy fix for that, you just put a little bit more of the powder. And notice I'm covering it up, see? Step by step by step. It's going to take a few minutes. Hopefully you're enjoying this. Notice the grout is mostly non-lumpy. There's one or two little lumps. The better, the more clear it is without lumps, the better it is for you. So I mix mine pretty well. Now when you get near the edge, you could stop a little bit above the edge so that we don't want it to really run off. And we want to keep it near the edge, but not to the edge. It might even be a pattern that you like to not go all the way to the edge. It's up to you. And if I happen to come across a couple of little lumps, I could take the back of my paintbrush and I could just squish them down and just push them in. So I'm just taking like the 4 biggest ones just to get rid of them and just to make sure I don't have any. But if you mixed it well, you shouldn't even, hopefully you're not going to have that many. So I just had about 4. And you can notice it with your eye that it's good to go. Okay, so look at that. Wow. It looks like a mess, but guess what? This is going to be your foundation for putting in your tiles. So the first thing I want to think about is my pattern shape. And if any of the tiles happen to be too big, like if they're large, you could put them into little tiny, you could smash them in a bag, like in the cement out in the street, like a plastic bag. You could even make your flowers of different colors if you want to, or if you prefer, you can make all the flowers the same colors. So I'll just take a few and I'm going to stick them in. Now some of the pieces are a little bit thicker, so if I happen to take a thick one, I might want to put a little extra grout on the side. Like this guy, he's a little bit thicker. So I'll just add a couple drops on the side. That's just building it up a little so that I don't have any openings. So it takes a minute or two. And then you try to keep the top part clear as much as possible. And then you build it up all around. And there we go. Look how nice that looks. So I'll just gently wipe it off. Make sure it's sticking, which it is. It looks fabulous. And then I'll think of what other colors might go with this to fill up this pattern. Or if I have the same exact, I can make another type of petal next to it. And then in the center, I can think about what color center I want to put. Like I'm going to do this one in blue. So I'll put that there. And then I'm going to just build this one up a little bit. Here we go. And you keep on adding and adding and adding. Again, pause the video if you want, if you need any more supplies. It is going to take a little bit of time, especially if you never worked with grout before. And these surfaces are porous, meaning they absorb water. So I want to just do a little section at a time. And that's why I'm just building these up a little, which you see here. Look how pretty that looks. Now, if the grout happens to get on something that you don't want it on, you just wipe it off. So you might want to have an additional paper towel around or a rag that you could just dump it. And that's the beauty of this. You just keep it nice and clean. Okay, I think I'll get like maybe one more. I'll try to, on this one I'm going to try to keep, I'm trying to keep the sizes a little bit similar. This one's kind of fun. Maybe I'll do this one over here. And I'll stick it in. Same thing, I'll just take some more grout and stick it around here. Then I'll paste it up. And look how cool that looks. It's a lot of fun. Now, if your flowers, if you're using your imagination and you want to make a different kind of shape, like if you don't want to do flowers, you could just do random patterns. You could do anything that you're thinking of that might fit what idea you might have. But our idea for today was supposed to be looking at trying to make some little flowers for Mother's Day and fill in these little spots here. Now that one got a little bit covered, so I'm going back. I'm just cleaning it off with my finger. And I'm getting it all to the section so that everything's cleaned off. Look at that. I love it. Okay. And I just pat it down a little, clean off what, if something's in the wrong spot, I fix it up. And then let me just grab one more. This one's really cute. Let's try, how about this one? Let me get, I'm trying to see if I can get some colors. Oh, here's a fun one. How about this one? Look at that. And then I'll just put some around it. Here we go. And if you see any little tiny bubbles, air bubbles or holes, you do want to cover them up or add a little bit more cement, grout, because whatever you see now will be the way that it's going to dry. So if there's a little rough spot, like you're not 100%, it's not 100% smooth, or you want to change it up, do it now when it's nice and wet, before it hardens. And that's what I'm doing here. Then I'll just put some on this side. And you keep on going. You could pause the video. Now that one got a lot covered up here, so I'm just going to shake it on out. Pat it on down. And cover it up. Look at that. That is so awesome looking. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to think about my stem, a piece for my stem. So stems are usually greenish. So I might look for a greenish kind of piece like this, and I'll stick it down here. And that's going to be that's going to serve as my stem. And again, I'll just add some more of the grout. Into these little slots here. Oh, this one had a little lump. Yeah, lumps are part of what happens. So no matter how you work it out, sometimes you wind up with a little lump here and there. But if you keep on working at it, it will look really beautiful. And here we go. And there's my stem. I'm just putting one last little touch here. So now I'm just going to wipe it down like that and close in any little holes or openings that I might see. It's very easy to just use your fingers. If you don't like getting a little bit dirty, you can use the paintbrushes for this. And look how nice that is. And then just keep on wiping them down so they're nice and clear. Same thing with the stone, the flower part. Now, if it gets a little bit too much on the flower part, you can take the paintbrush and just brush it away a little bit to make it nice and smooth and roundish. And that you can notice that that's the center. Okay. And look how cool that looks. Oh, it looks so much fun. Like a lot of fun here. Good. And then I'll just wipe it again. And look at that. It's gorgeous. Okay, so that took us a few minutes. So now what you're going to think about is your next pattern. And that was about 1/3 of the top of your flower pot. So now I'm just gently going to switch around. And I didn't go to the bottom. Let's leave it like that because for the first time that you're doing this, it's probably better. And then it's not touching the bottom. So when she makes it into a when you make it into a planner, it'll just go a lot easier. So then I'm going to turn my flower pot again. And I'm going to go to the next section. And I'm going to repeat 2 more times or 3 more times, depending on how many you have. Now I want to show you what we're going to do in the background, since we didn't get to that really yet. So the first thing is I'm just going to take my little paintbrush with little tiny bits of water and wash away anything that I don't like on top of the tile. And any bumps that I might see that don't feel so smooth. And then I'm going to think about some of these other pieces of tile that I have that are on the clear side or beige. And I'm going to think about, I'm going to stick those in randomly around. To make sure that I have, 100% of tiles. So here, this guy just needs a little bit here. And a little bit here. And I'll just plug up the holes and wipe it down. And then you could squish it around also with your finger. Make sure it feels nice and comfortable. That it's stuck. And it's even. And look, there's a nice beige colored one. And then you keep on going, filling in all around until you get this done at like 2 to 3 more designs. And it's going to be fantastically beautiful. Okay, so I'll show you the one that I had done again as an example. So look, I noticed here that there are a couple of extras put in there. So if you get a very good pattern for yourself, you can make it thicker or thinner depending on what you have. Same thing here. Here's my base. Here's my flower center, and then here are my pieces. So this is all open up to your imagination. Anything that you're thinking of as far as what would make everybody happy, how do you want it to look? Here's my base here. Here are my flower petals around here, and here's my center. Okay, and same thing here. Base, flowers, and center. And again, here's another one. So some notice that are a little bit smaller. Some notice that might take up a little bit more space. So right now I want to show you in between. This is an in-between section. Notice I just filled it up with a whole bunch of pieces. And you can make them separated from each other. They don't have to be so close. They could be further away, and you could just fill it in. And eventually what's going to happen is your cement will run low, and then you'll have to refill your cement. So that's why I gave you plenty. There's so much there to do your cement. Okay, I'm going to switch gears now to this mini packet. So I'm going to push these tiles out of the way. And again, just keep on repeating to do the rest of your design. And I want to just make sure we have enough time so I could show you everything. So this is your packet here. So I'm just going to dump it out on my newspaper or my mat. In this case, I have a little mat. And I'm just going to separate everything out of what I gave you. And this is the time right now for you to decide if you have some extra things that you'd like to add. So in here you have glass chips, pieces of glass. You'll see the marbles These little marble chips that you could use for the flower centers. They're in there as well. All right, and then in here I have sequins, all kinds of shapes and sizes, and then I have these little tiny they're like little charms, but they're glittery, and that's where you're going to need the tweezers. This is where the glue is going to come in. Tweezers. Now the other thing I was thinking, if you have some of those Q-tips, that might be a good thing also for little fingers to work with, because sometimes tweezers aren't the best for little tiny hands. So maybe you could use a Q-tip. Then you don't really have to you don't have to grip it, but you could hold it. The tweezers are good, you could hold it. The Q-tip is good for holding the glue. All right, so let's go back to our design, and we're gonna work on the part that we're gonna make the name Mom, M-O-M. Now, if you want to make another name, or use, if there's somebody else special in your life that you want to make this for them, you could put their name, or you could do anything at all, you know, that your heart desires, or you don't have to even put a name. You can just put a design. So I have some of these things. They're all different kinds of sequences. Little drinking vases, globules, and flowers, heart shapes, and then these little guys. So notice there's a whole bunch of different ones, and there's a couple of little beads in here too. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a few of them in order, picking out my colors. There's going to be just random colors in here, because it was like a package of 1,000. So everybody got a whole bunch of them. So I'm just looking at my colors, and I'm just separating them a little so that I can get to them. My sequences are all different shapes and sizes and all kinds of fun things. All right, so now I have an idea of what's in this little bag. And again, this is a time right now, if you have beads or other supplies that you'd want to add to your own, to make it your own, you can. It's a perfect time. Okay, so with my glue, and here's my glue, I'm going to think of my pattern of how I want to say, maybe I want to say the word Mom. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line them all up. So I thought maybe I'll do some purples, violet. Probably what would work good is maybe 3 in a row if I want to write the word Mom. And you could do the same colors. You could switch off the colors. I'm just looking if this would work. So probably lining them up straight as you can, and then something like this. You could see it here, hopefully. Yes. And then I'm just writing it. I'm making it so it's ready to go. Okay, so here's an M. And then I'm going to think for my O, I'll just put a whole bunch of them in a row and make like a little circular. I'm going to do this one clear, I think. And then I think I might do the other M with some other colors. So let's see what we have. So it all depends, I guess, on your colors too, or what you like. Maybe you don't like purple. Or maybe your mom doesn't like purple. So you could think of some other colors that you might want to use. So right for now, I'm just doing M-O-M. Again, if you're giving this to your grandma, to a special aunt, auntie, a friend, some other relative, you're making it for yourself, Look at that. That looks so nice. M-O, and I'm going to do an M. Now, in here, this particular pack has a little butterfly. I'm going to bring that over. And I have a little bit of a star. And then there's some other little decorations. Here's a little bobbin, like for sewing. A pretend one. Here's some little glass chips. Here are some beads. So you could think about all these little designs that are in here and bring them close so that you can know what you have. There's also some of these really small little glass chips. So I'm just going to make my final letter. I'm really liking how this came out. It's very cute. And of course you can design it any way you like. These are just my ideas. But let's say you have some other really great ideas for yourself, or you have a different pattern in mind. That's fine too, because it's going to look really nice. Now, I'm just laying out my sequence. So this is a little bit tedious, like this could take some time. That's why if you lay out your colors, everything will be ready to go. You could stop the video, play it back, anything like that. If you do stop and come back later, just keep the glue cover on the glue and then cover your cement. Now when I say cover the cement container, meaning put a piece of saran wrap, a small piece, over the top so it doesn't dry out. And if you're gonna save it for another day, then definitely wrap it up, like with saran wrap, and then hopefully it'll be good for the next day. It'll stay nice and soft. Okay, so I'm just making an MOM here. And I'm gonna put some reds in here, I think, and switch it off with the pinks, just to give some more colors. Because we have these reds, we have greens, we have all kinds of colors, so I'm just gonna mix it. Now, also you can make it random. And here we go, we have MOM. Look how cute that is. It's adorable. Now, the reason I took the time to show you this and to lay it out is when you're doing working with pottery and mosaics, the pattern is everything. Like your pattern, you want it to get it into your design. So that's why it takes a little bit of time to set it up, but it's so worth it because now you're ready to go. So I'm going to pick up my pot again, and I'm going to be working on the rim this time over here, and I'm going to be working with the glue. Okay, so this is just glue, and I'm using my paintbrush. If you have a tiny paintbrush, that works. If you have a medium size, that works. I wouldn't go with such a large one because the some of the decorations are a little bit small. So I'm just picking up a little bit of the glue on the tip of the paintbrush, and I'm just going to make I'm just going to put some glue on the flower pot in the area where I want to start my first M. Okay, so just make sure it's nice and sticky. And it is, because look, you could see it. Now the beautiful thing about Elmer's glue is that at first it starts out looking white, but as you know, or you might know, this is gonna turn clear. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up each of my little sparkles, and I'm using my tweezers, and I'm just putting it into the design in the order. So this one's spelling mom, and I would gently tap each top of these so that you make sure it has glue. I think this came out very cute. You guys are gonna, I think you're gonna love this. All right, so I'm adding some more sequins. I'm just gently tapping each one so it sticks. And the great thing about this again too is when it's wet, you could still move them around a little. But in 24 hours from now, you know that it's going to be dried. You will not be able to move them anymore. So just make sure, however it is right now when you're done, is how it's going to, that you're happy with that. That's how it's going to be when it's finished product. Okay, because the cement grout, and the glue are going to dry. Oh, look how that M came out. It's gorgeous. The sparkles are so cute. So let me think of another idea to show you real quick. So here is another way to put more decorations. So if I were you, I would go around the whole rim and just put my Elmer's glue a little bit at a time. One section at a time is the best way to work this. And now notice that, and then I could decide, oh, what should I put there? I'm going to go with, here's a glass star. I'm going to put that. And then I'm just going to make sure it's nice and wet on there, that it's even. And look how adorable that is. And then I just keep going round and round and round, making sure that I'm putting enough glue so that everything can stick. Or if it turns out that something falls off, that means you probably have to go back and put a little bit more glue. And since Elmer's takes about 24 hours to dry, the grout cement also takes about 24 to 48 hours to dry. So you could put it in a nice quiet place, meaning some place where nobody's going to touch it much. And then you could put your little decorations on there. And if you don't over glue it, if you don't put too much, it should mostly stay in the same spot that it was at. If you do see the sequins or anything moving, what I could recommend just for the glue, just a gentle blow dry, just a gentle, but not on the grout. Don't blow dry the grout. Okay, and then I keep going round and round and round until I get my beautiful design the way I like it. So I'm going to show you my other one. My finished product. And back to the finished product. So I had Mom. Though that was written in beads. And then I just put some of these little round stickies. But the ones I gave you this time have a lot more character to them. And then you can make much bigger, more beautiful design as well. Well, it was my pleasure being with you tonight, this afternoon. Again, let it dry for at least 24 hours. Make sure that the way you leave it when you let it dry, there's no holes in it and there's no cracks. So make sure you close them all up before you let it air dry. Again, because then once it air dries, then that's how it's going to be in the end. You can't move it anymore after that. Well, thanks for joining me. Again, Catherine Martin, and I hope you enjoyed the video and the craft.